5 reasons why Arsenal look so scary in the Premier League right now. Top of the table, dominating the league, doing very, very well in Europe. I'm going to address 5 things that I've noticed from the Burnley game and recent games. And at the end, discuss my number 1 reason why Arsenal are doing so well. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure you subscribe as well. We have to start off mainly with the big new Swedish number 9, who is banging in goals for Arsenal at a decent rate. He's gone right under the radar of Gyökeres. I know he went, 8 or 9 games without scoring for club or country, but 6 goals in 14. If you go back in a time travel machine to 1989, that Arsenal side, that goal return for a striker back then would have been very, very decent. 1 in 2, 1 in 3. You're not going to get Erling Haaland levels all the time out of strikers. I think Gyökeres is adding so much to Arsenal beyond the goal scoring. I think the goal scoring is really important. It was a crucial header against Burnley. Obviously a bit of a tap-in. It was, 3 yards out. But a very important header from Gyökeres. And that's the first thing that we've learned. I think Gyökeres is getting better week in, week out. He's doing 3 or 4 things at a very, very high level, I have to say. I think his link-up play is very, very good. I think he's giving space to Saka. I think he's giving great quality distribution. The ball out to Leandro Trossard, who obviously plays it into Declan Rice, is absolutely outstanding. And Gyökeres always had decent build-up play in his locker. I think maybe that raw sharpness of pace and power that maybe Erling Haaland has, wrongly compared to Haaland. But I think his build-up play has always been cute, always been smart, can always draw a foul. And actually, when he turns and faces the goal, if he isn't being marked, he's got a bit of space, he can actually find a pass as well. It was a great ball into Trossard. It was an outstanding ball into Trossard. Let's be completely real. And I think Gyökeres' total game is very, very good. He looks a little bit leaner. Looks a little bit more confident. I think what I like about Gyökeres as well is, look, there are obviously big egos in football. These guys are getting paid massive money. But he looks humble. He looks like he just wants to be friends with everyone. He wants to be loved by Arsenal fans. Sometimes you don't always get that. Sometimes the energy and the attitude from a player can be a little bit maybe stoic or a little bit distant or a little bit removed from the fans. Gyökeres is a fan favourite. He's playing so well for the shirt. He's working exceptionally hard as well. That's another thing. He works so hard off the ball and he's giving so much space to the Arsenal front line. I thought he was very, very impressive against Burnley. Without that striker, maybe it's Mikael Merino this time last season. Maybe it's Kai Havertz. There's a lack of physicality. There's a lack of pace. There's a lack of a natural finisher. Maybe there's no one in that box to score that tap-in from Gyökeres this season if it was last season. So Gyökeres is a massive thing that we learned from this weekend, that he's notching up goals. He's approaching 6. I'm seeing journalists talking about 25 in all competitions. I'm seeing reports that he's quietly confident he's going to hit that kind of number this season. It wouldn't surprise me. The second thing we learned is that Mikel Arteta is evolving and he's learning as a manager. He's being a lot more ruthless with his time. I think he gives players a little bit less time to do what they need to do on the pitch. There could have been an argument. You play Gyökeres for the entirety of the game against Burnley. Let him get a couple more goals maybe. Let him get a hat-trick. Let him stat pad. But he did his job. He worked very, very hard. He's been playing a lot of football. 14 games already for Arsenal. He rotates him very early in the game for Mikael Merino, who I thought did a good job as well. Last season before that, Saka's playing in League Cup games and Saka's playing every single minute. Odegaard's playing every single minute, getting rushed back. I think Mikel Arteta understands what Guardiola was great at, Alex Ferguson back in the day was great at, is pulling a player 65 minutes after it's 2-0 up. Jose Mourinho with Chelsea did it. Just pulling a player ruthlessly. Doesn't care about his stats. He's done a job for the team. He'll start next game. And you look at Slavia Prague, Sunderland, Tottenham, Bayern coming up for Arsenal. Some standard games in there, maybe just before Bayern Munich. Why do you need to play Gyökeres for 45 minutes in the second half against Burnley? Why? He's done his job. He's so confident with the back line that he doesn't need Gyökeres to score 3 or 4, make it 4-5-0. It doesn't matter. I think Mikel Arteta is learning. We've seen it against Manchester City when he brings on Eze, when he brings on Eze against Newcastle United away as well. Mikel Arteta is evolving. He understands the longevity of a title race, that if you go into December with a big injury to Gyökeres for no reason, it's unforced errors. Just keep it simple. And I think resting Gyökeres, we can play more minutes at an intense level in bigger games coming up, because Chelsea, Tottenham, Bayern gets a lot trickier after Sunderland, of course, and Burnley. And I think he's getting it spot on in terms of squad rotation. He's always using subs at the right time. This season, I was critical last season, but this season I think he is. The third thing is Bukayo Saka. And I'm seeing tweets about his numbers, his lack of goals and assists this season, definitely down on previous years. I still think he's offering a lot. I think he's getting a lot more space than Gyökeres. And you have to say, we talk about Gyökeres coming in as a new striker. He's learning about how he's getting fed balls, down the channels, and he's learning how crosses are coming in from Arsenal. I think he's figuring that out. But by the way, a new striker comes in. The current players at Arsenal have to figure out how to play the number 9. They've not done that for 3 or 4 years, probably since Aubameyang as a major striker. So Saka has to learn how to play with Gyökeres, what kind of space he's going to get. It's different to what it was last season. And I think it's in a positive way. I think Saka's learning. I thought he was very, very good against Burnley. Again, his numbers aren't absolutely unbelievable, but I think he's offering a lot to this Arsenal side, and rightly so. You don't need Saka performing 10 out of 10 every single week. I think you'd rather have Saka putting in 7s and 8s, maybe not getting the goals, but the goals are spread more evenly across the squad than it has been. The reliance on Saka and Odegaard arguably cost Arsenal last season and in previous seasons. I couldn't believe what I saw in the final 5 minutes when Burnley were attacking, obviously trying to get back into the game in front of their home fans at Turf Moor. The running back, it's almost like headless chicken, but not in a bad way. It's almost like crisis stations. It's almost like they're trying to protect a 0-0, let alone a 2-0. They've got a nice buffer, the Arsenal players. They're sprinting back to try and almost block the ball going into the net in a kind of rudimentary way. Their aggressiveness to defend. It's not just like from the first minute, because you're going to get that. Of course you're going to get that from most sides. Most sides are keen to defend in the first 1 minute of the game. They want to win the game, of course. But this is the best side in the country. Burnley, 2-0 goal deficit. Burnley haven't had a shot all game, let's be real. And they are sprinting back to get bodies behind the ball, including the likes of Declan Rice, who's put in a 10 out of 10 across the whole pitch. It's staggering. This is a lot about Mikel Arteta that I just talked about, that they all believe in his plan. They're all running for Mikel Arteta. They believe that running off the ball when they're 2-0 up against Burnley, showing that desire that I think many Arsenal sides lacked in the post-Wenger era, or maybe even in the final years of Wenger, that intensity, that ruthlessness, that kind of everyone's willing to die on the pitch for their manager, very Jose Mourinho-esque. That was very, very impressive to me. It really, really was. Something nasty about it. Celebrating clean sheets. There's a shithousery to it, and I like that a lot. I think Manchester City don't have that in the same way. I think someone like Ruben Diaz, John Stones, Gvardiol, successful centre-backs, some of the best defenders of this era of the Premier League, have they got that ruthlessness? They want to be leaders, they want to keep clean sheets, but they want to do it maybe with the ball in more of a silky way. This Arsenal side are almost defending for their lives as if they're bottom of the table and they're top of the table. And that is scary for the Premier League. And the fifth thing that we learned going into the fixtures that I'm going to skim through now is that Declan Rice is operating at a world-class level. Let's have it right. He starts for Real Madrid. He starts for Bayern Munich, top of the Bundesliga. Goes on and on. Let's be real. Starts for anyone. Starts for Liverpool. Anyone you want. 10 out of 10. Great goal. His quality of distribution is getting better every single season. As a defensive-minded midfielder, he covers so much space. He's one of the fittest players in world football. I dare say he's fitter than someone like Caicedo. I see more intensity in the final 5 minutes from Declan Rice and Caicedo. And Caicedo's intensity is scary as well. And then you're looking at headed goals. It's Lampard-esque. He's got a bit of the Owen Hargreaves about him. He's got a bit of the Lampards about him, a bit of the Scholes about him, and the Gerrards. And the Gareth Barry, because Gareth Barry is a very, very smart, pragmatic defensive midfielder, and Carrick as well, someone like that. Declan Rice is embodying every single good English midfielder for the last 10 years. Nicky Butt. He's got a bit of Nicky Butts about him. It's unbelievable stuff, and Declan Rice is operating at a world-class level. If he stays fit, it's almost getting to the point now. If he stays fit, I think Gyökeres doesn't have to be in this side. I think you can rotate the left winger. I think Saka's obviously still important. The back line can rotate. I think you keep Gabriel, Raya and Rice. I think they still win the Premier League this season. Obviously with rotation from the current squad. I think Eze and Odegaard can come in and out of it. I think Mikel Arteta can find a way. But without Declan Rice, these guys fall away in a big, big way. And it remains to be seen because he's basically going to play every single game. He's so fit. It's a madness. His Strava must be on a different planet. Let's look at the fixtures. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure you subscribe if you made it this far. Slavia Prague, Sunderland, Tottenham, Bayern, Chelsea, Brentford, Villa away, Bruges. I keep reading them out without stopping because I don't see where the loss is. I'll stop when there's a loss. Wolves at home, Palace at home, Everton away, and then Brighton at home. If Arteta gets it right, maybe there's a few draws in there. They could be unbeaten going into the end of December, past Boxing Day, going into 2026. They could be unbeaten. They really, really could. They are a very, very special side. And I think this Arsenal side, going into the Champions League games, going into one more game before the international break with Sunderland, are in a pole position to dominate this current part of the season. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Agree with my 5 picks, and I'll see you very, very soon.